you use strong man's power. Wait, are you recording?
It's okay, I'll probably put music over all of this. My friends, what are we doing today? We are crafting today. And what are we doing? We're turning these ordinary white shoes into tarot shoes. And we're gonna do that with a little Mod Podge and some tarot imagery. I am so excited about this crafting project, you have no idea. So if you are coming back as a subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing and coming back. And if you're brand new, welcome. This is a channel where I like to make art or crafting projects that are somehow related to tarot in one form or another. This is actually a little inspired from a previous video I did, and it was kind of my first major decoupage project where I turned this backpack into a tarot bag using the Morgan Greer Two of Swords. And I just put this on with Mod Podge and it looks pretty cool. And I've been wearing it and it's awesome. So I figured, okay, let's try it with some shoes. And I wasn't sure which image, which card, but then I remembered that my husband had gotten me this wrapping paper and I thought, you know what? This will be really cool to put on the shoes. But the paper I think might be a little too thick for this project. I mean, it is thin, you know, just like regular wrapping paper, but most people, when they decoupage, they use materials that are thin like napkins. So I'm gonna do what I did with the backpack, and I'm going to use tissue paper. So I'm going to take this wrapping paper, I'm gonna scan it into my computer, and I'm gonna print it out on tissue paper. And if you've never heard of printing on tissue paper, I strongly recommend you check out this video over here in the corner where I use tissue paper to customize candles. And it's the same process, so if you want to check out how to do that, take a look. For now, let's work on these shoes. So here's my Canon Pixma scanner, and I'm going to put the wrapping paper down like so. And we're gonna scan in this bad boy. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my printer scanner software here. And I am going to click on my printer, open scanner. Oh, look how pretty. Okay. So I am going to leave this at color. I think I will bump up the resolution to 300. That's usually a good one if you're printing things in color. And let's see, I'm just going to use US letter because that's going to be the size of the paper that I will use to print. And let's put this in our Tarot Lenormand stuff. And what should I call it? I will call it tarot cards for shoes. All right, and I want that to be a PNG file. Okay, so I think we're ready to scan. So hit the scan button. All right, I think we have our image. So for those of you who are crafty and don't need a step-by-step tutorial on printing tissue paper, in a nutshell, all you need to do is take a piece of tissue paper and wrap it around a piece of cardstock. This is just kind of standard. I think this might be 110-pound cardstock. It's regular old cardstock. And just tape it along the edges with masking tape. And that's it. And you put it through your feeder. Just like this. Or if you really need a step-by-step tutorial, then definitely check out that video that I mentioned earlier. So now I'm setting my printer to print. And remember, when you do print, to make sure you set it to best quality. Here we go. Okay, so this is what our printout looks like. Now, obviously, my printer has a little problem. It's got a little ink splashed in a couple of places, but I think this is still usable. So let's turn this around and take the tape off. Okay, so I've cut off the edges that had the masking tape just so that it's easier to handle this paper without the tape sticking to itself and creating a mess. So now that I've cut it up a little bit, I can kind of size this up against the shoe and see what I need here. So I might have to print another copy for the other shoe because I feel like if I try to use this for both, it's going to be cutting it a little too close. And I want to make sure I have plenty of material to work with. What I think is best is just to glue this down the way it is with Mod Podge. And then the parts that aren't glued down, I'm just going to cut them off and just leave a little bit of a margin to kind of tuck it underneath. And I remember when I was doing this with a pair of earrings, I did the tucking underneath and it just didn't work out because when you see the other side of the earring, you kind of see that. But because these are shoes and no one's gonna see underneath, I think we'll be okay using that method. So what do you think? Should we give that a shot? Glue it down first? Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm ready for the glue. And by glue, I mean Mod Podge, because Mod Podge is an adhesive. All right, so I'm gonna use this brush, which is not really a brush, but it is. It's a silicone brush. And what's awesome about this is that the Mod Podge won't stick to it. It'll just peel right off. But I remember last time when I did the bag, I kind of wished I used a brush to brush in the Mod Podge close to the seams. So in case I need that, I have a little brush right here handy in case the need should arise. I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge directly onto the shoe. Okay, then we're gonna brush it on. And I'm just going to put it all over the white part of the shoe. And I also wanna make sure that I get close to the edges because we need to make sure that those edges are nicely sealed in and glued on. So I'm going to get as close as I can to the edge. And what's nice about this silicone brush is that it has a nice straight edge, so it works out nicely. Okay, so let me get some of this over to the other side. And I want to make sure I don't leave any globs of Mod Podge anywhere, because then that can get pretty messy. Speaking of messy, I think I've already started making a mess. I'm just going to try to scrape that up. I just want to continue getting the Mod Podge on this side. Okay, so now let's grab our tissue paper and position it. Let's see, this is the print side, right? So that's, yeah, okay. So do we want to put it this way so that the cards are facing the person who's looking at it, or do we want to do it this way? Does it depend on whether or not you read reversals? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to do it this way, facing me. Facing me or facing, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna do it. I'm putting it down. All right, and the good thing about the Mod Podge is that it doesn't dry immediately, so you still have some wiggle room to literally wiggle it around and get it into the exact spot. So I'm gonna move this down. Well, do I wanna? Yeah, I'm gonna move it down just so that I can cut off the parts that don't need to be glued down. You know what, I'm gonna wipe some of this off because I don't want this to get glued to the wedge part of the shoe. All right, and now, let's see, I think we actually need to move this over. So I'm gonna move it over. All right. Okay, I think here we have full coverage now. The whole shoe is covered. All right. And then I'm just gonna smooth this out a bit. Now here, we need to pull this down a bit here because some of the shoe is exposed. So I'm gonna try to lift it up a little bit and pull it down, hopefully without ripping it. Ah! Oh no, oh no. Okay, you know what? This is not a problem because we still have plenty to work with. So I'm just gonna peel this off very slowly. So you have to be careful with lining this up straight. Okay, so let's see if we can work with this. And then I'm gonna kind of tap it along so that we don't get any wrinkles. And then make sure we also push it into the seam. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. You know, getting things into the seam is something that I've only done with the purse. I mean, the little backpack that I showed you. So I don't know how this technique is gonna work with shoes, but we'll see. Make sure I press along the top part, get in that seam again. Try to do the same thing on this side without ripping it. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. And I think the next step will be to come at it with some scissors just to cut along the edges, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this is the part that gets me nervous. It's the cutting, because I always think, not always, I mean, this is my second project, but I think that I'm not gonna cut it close enough and it's gonna be sticking out. But I don't know, let's just cut and see what happens. It seems, let's see, it seems dry. So like, what if should I cut it like this right here? Is that a close enough cut? Oh, that's not bad. All right, let's keep doing that, I guess. I just don't want to get Mod Podge all over my scissors. Let's see, how's that? Is that good? This is making me nervous. See, I don't know what's better, to do things for the first time on YouTube or to perfect it first and then do a video. Maybe not perfecting it just yet makes it more entertaining, but this is really making me nervous. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Just keep cutting. Just keep cutting. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I'll just cut that there. And then, let's see. Do I want to keep... I'll cut a little bit. I think I want to, like I said before, I think I want to leave a little bit of a margin just so that I have something to tuck underneath. So maybe like this. Okay. Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Have you guys ever seen that episode of Dick Van Dyke when Laura Petrie is taking care of Millie's parrot, and the parrot is in her husband's dentist office, and the parrot learned how to say, "Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous." I feel like that parrot right now. Okay, let's see. So I think with this lip that I've left here, I think maybe I can cut some slices and then tuck them underneath and then glue those down. That could work. All right, let me get rid of this thing that's hanging out here. Right, is that what I want to do? There. Okay, and then I can tuck this. Now I think there might be too much. I have my little knitting scissors, these guys. So let's see if I can get a little closer to the edge. You know, I think I could see it better on the camera than I can in real life. All right. Oh, these are my little squeaky guys. Do you hear them? Listen. Yeah. They squeak every time I use them. I feel like I need more light. I can't see what's going on. All right, I'm gonna leave that for now and then just focus on the bigger chunks that need to come off. I'm gonna cut here. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I wonder if using a blade, I don't know, I'll probably end up cutting the shoes. All right, I'm just gonna keep going, just keep going. And then I wanna leave a little bit of a lip, but not this much. So maybe I should cut it about here. That should be enough. I got a feel for where that shoe ends. Make sure I don't cut too much off. Okay, now it's curving this way. So I'll do it like that. It's kind of fun when you don't know what you're doing because it's exciting to see how it's going to end up. So now that I have got the lip, you know what? This piece is driving me bananas. I think I'm going to cut this off here. All right. And then it probably makes sense for me to cut some slices here so that's easier to fold in like that. And then we'll be able to fold that underneath at this point. Okay. And then it's really curvy over here. So I won't space these too far apart. So there maybe. And then here, I got a feel for where that shoe starts so I don't cut the shoe. And then this guy I can probably cut off. So I don't need this much of it showing. There we go. Now I need to do the same thing up here. And then I'll have to cut off some of this here. So for this part, I think instead of using the silicone brush, I'm gonna use this brush just to be a little more precise, especially because these pieces are smaller. I'm taking my brush and dipping it in the Mod Podge. And I'm gonna turn this shoe upside down. Let me see if I can get this in a position that you can also see what's going on. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna put some glue along the edge of the shoe. This is tricky, getting this on camera so that you can see what's happening and so that I can also see what's happening. So I'm gonna go ahead and just use the brush to also fold those pieces of paper down, which I seem to be breaking now. So we'll do this gently, gently, gently. Tap, tap, tap. Nice and gentle. I will glue these pieces off camera, but you saw what I did on this side. So I'm doing the exact same thing on this side. Urgh, this is so frustrating. I recorded the whole thing where I put Mod Podge on top of the shoe, and of course when I checked it, it wasn't actually recording. Basically what I did was I used this big brush instead of this brush because I felt like the tissue might be a little too delicate. So I wanted something a little softer. So I went over the whole top with Mod Podge, and then I used the little brush to kind of get in there at the seams so I can kind of tuck the tissue paper in there while also sealing it in. Alrighty, so I've already started working on the second shoe and I've put the tissue paper on. So I was working on this while I let the other one dry. So I'm gonna put this to the side and bring back the first shoe. So I have a little concern here and here. I'm not sure if those are bubbles or if that's just Mod Podge that hasn't fully dried yet. So hopefully that'll go away. I mean, actually it does look a lot better than it did earlier on. So hopefully it's just that it didn't dry yet. I let this dry for about 20 to 30 minutes because that's what it says on the instructions for Mod Podge. It says in between coats of the Mod Podge, wait 20 to 30 minutes. So I think we are now ready for another coat. And you can see how shiny it is because that's the kind of finish, even though it is matte. I know that there is a Mod Podge Glossy, which is a lot glossier than this. So I'm kind of glad that I used the matte because I don't think I wanted it any glossier than it is now. All right, so I think we're ready for the second coat. Oh, one thing that I did want to mention is because I was afraid these were bubbles, when I put this paper down, just so if you try this little experiment, I made sure that I used my fingers to kind of flatten everything out. And I think that really helped with wrinkles and bubbles. You can see this looks a lot smoother than when I did the first shoe. So, you know, we're learning as we go through this little experiment. Okay, back to shoe number one. So I'm taking my brush and we're putting on coat number two. right, so I've glued down the second one. I didn't put Mod Podge on top just yet, but you can tell I did a much better job on this one, the second one, than the first one. Again, this still needs to dry, hopefully. You can see this is nice and smooth, and this one has its little wrinkles and crinkles over here. And I also did a much better job at cutting along the edge here than I did on the first shoe. So I'm gonna go ahead now and do the first coat of Mod Podge and hope for the best. Okay, so we'll wait about 20 to 30 minutes to let this dry, and then we'll put a second coat of Mod Podge on top. It's been well over an hour now, and it's dried pretty nicely. It still looks a lot smoother than the other one. Let's take a look here. But as you can see, the bubbles that I was talking about earlier, they're not as bad. You can still see a little white, but again, I think it's just a matter of that drying, and it should look decent enough. But yeah, you can really tell that this one looks better. And if you look at the glare, so you can see, you do see the brush marks, but again, that doesn't really bother me at all. And now it's time for coat number 2 on shoe number 2. Alrighty, so I let these dry overnight, so it's been about 16 hours. And shoe number 1, you can tell that this was my first shoe because, I mean, look at it, look at this part. This is the part which is kind of messed up, is there's a lot of wrinkles in there. I think we still have that white bit here, although it's kind of hard to tell. Actually, no, I don't. I think that might just be the glare from the glossiness of the Mod Podge. But shoe number 2 definitely looks many times better, many times smoother. I don't see any wrinkles. I just see, you know, the brush strokes, and frankly, I don't mind. But we don't have any wrinkling. I did a much better job at laying this down flat. And when I laid it down, I used my fingers to press it down, which is not something that I did here. So this is the final product. If you guys were inspired to customize your own shoes, hit that like button. If you want to see more crafty things with tarot, hit subscribe, and let me know what you think. I am looking forward to sporting these out on the down. I hope this inspired you to do something, and we'll chat again in the next one. Ooh, we have to do the satisfying peel. All right, we have to get this Mod Podge off the brush. All right, you ready? Oh. So satisfying.